Get up. You were never disqualified. There's a moment almost everyone knows, even if they've never said it out loud. Maybe it was a phone call that changed everything. A door that closed for good and never reopened. Maybe it was quieter than that. Just you, alone, staring at a decision you can't undo. It's the moment you're lying on the floor of your own life. Not literally maybe, but somewhere just as real. Staring at the ceiling, replaying the mistake, the relationship you wrecked, the opportunity that slipped through your fingers, the version of yourself you promised you'd be by now, and aren't. And in that silence, a voice starts talking. It doesn't shout, it doesn't need to. It just repeats one sentence, quietly, until you believe it. You had your shot. You blew it. Stay down. I want to talk to you about that voice today, because before we go any further, I need you to know something. It is lying to you. Here's what failure does that nobody warned you about. It doesn't just cost you something, it tries to rename you. You miss a deadline and suddenly you're not someone who missed a deadline. You're unreliable. You fall into an old sin and you're not someone in a real struggle. You're a hypocrite. You watch a dream die and you're not someone whose timing was wrong. You're a failure, full stop, permanent, final. Failure doesn't just describe what happened. Left alone, it rewrites who you are. And once that lie settles into your chest, it starts making decisions for you. You stop applying. You stop showing up. You stop praying, because what's the point of talking to God when you've already decided He crossed your name off the list? So let's settle this now. Nowhere in Scripture, not once, not in a single verse, does God say He only uses finished people? He seems to specialize in the opposite. Think about Peter, 3 years walking with Jesus, front row for the miracles, the one who swore that even if everyone else abandoned Jesus, he never would. Hours later, standing by a fire, 3 separate times he denied even knowing the man, not to a soldier holding a sword, but to a servant girl. That's how far he fell. If failure disqualified people, Peter's story ends right there, by that fire, in shame, forgotten. Instead, Jesus finds him, not in a temple, on a beach after another failed fishing trip, next to, of all things, another fire. And He doesn't lecture him. He asks the same question 3 times. Do you love me? 1 for every denial. Then He hands him a job, go feed my sheep. The man who denied Jesus 3 times became the man who stood up weeks later and preached the sermon that launched the church. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. Look at David. The same man Scripture calls a man after God's own heart is the same man who committed adultery and then arranged a murder to cover it up. One of the worst moral collapses in the whole Bible. When he was finally confronted, David didn't make excuses. He broke completely, pleading with God to give him back the joy his own sin had cost him. God didn't erase him from the story. The Messiah's own bloodline runs directly through David, not around his failure, through it. Look at Gideon, found hiding in a wine press, threshing wheat in secret so the enemy wouldn't find him. Scared, small, convinced he was nobody. A messenger from God finds him there and greets him not as a coward, but as a mighty warrior, spoken over him before he'd done one mighty thing. God didn't call him what he currently was. God called him what he was becoming. Look at Moses, a murderer, technically. Killed a man in anger, then ran into the desert for 40 years, certain his usefulness was finished. 40 years of silence, herding someone else's sheep, hiding from what he'd done. Then, in the most unlikely place, a bush that wouldn't stop burning, God shows up and tells him there's still work for him to do. Moses argues back, listing every reason he's disqualified. He stutters. He's nobody. He's already ruined this once. God doesn't argue back with reasons. He simply promises to be with him. The man who ran from Egypt in shame walked back into it as its deliverer. That is exactly who you're dealing with right now. So hear this clearly. Grace was never about finding people who don't fail. Grace is God's specific, deliberate response to people who do. You are not disqualified because you fell. You are only disqualified if you decide the floor is where the story ends. Now, I'm not telling you the fall didn't hurt someone, or that consequences vanish because you prayed a prayer. Some doors stay closed, Some things don't come back the way they were. Grace doesn't erase consequences. It just refuses to let them have the final word on who you are. Maybe you're carrying something right now, a mistake nobody else knows about, a year you wasted, a relationship you wrecked, a version of yourself you're ashamed to name out loud. I'm not going to tell you it didn't matter. It did. But it does not get the final word. It was never given that authority. Only God gets the final word over your life. And He has not said disqualified. He has said, rise. Somebody needs this today. The ground is not your grave. It's just the ground. You are allowed to get up off of it. So what does that actually mean tomorrow morning in your real life? It means you stop rehearsing the failure like it's still breaking news. It happened. It's over. Let it finish happening. It means you go back to the prayer you stopped praying, the calling you shelved out of embarrassment, the dream you buried because it got too painful to hope for, and you start again. Small, shaky, unsure. Peter didn't walk off that beach with a 5-year plan. He just went and fed the sheep in front of him. It means you stop waiting to feel qualified before you obey. You will never feel ready. Gideon didn't feel like a mighty warrior hiding in that wine press. He became one by moving anyway because God spoke it before he believed it about himself. Sometimes obedience comes before the feeling, not after it. And it means you let people back in, the ones who love you, who've been waiting for you to come out of hiding. Isolation feels safer than exposure, but nothing grows in a locked room. Gideon was found while he was still hiding. Sometimes the breakthrough doesn't wait for you to feel ready to be seen. It finds you anyway, and it means when that voice comes back, you had your shot, you blew it, stay down, you answer it out loud if you have to. I am not what I did. I am who He says I am. And He said, get up. So wherever you are right now, on the floor of your own life, sitting by whatever fire you've been hiding at, hear this the way Peter heard it, not a lecture. One question, do you still love Him? Then that's enough to start with. Get up, dust off what's still usable, leave what isn't, and walk back into the story God is still writing because He never stopped writing it. You did. You paused it. He didn't. The floor was never your ending. It was just where you were lying down right before you remembered how to stand, so stand up.
Please give me strength. I feel so lost.